everyone, how's it going? I'm coming to you with yet another guitar review. We're looking at another acoustic, and this time we're looking at a Martin. Yep, now this is part of their X series, so kind of their cheapest guitars, their most affordable guitars. But it is a Martin nonetheless, and it's a pretty interesting guitar that I want to go ahead and talk about. As always, this is not an acoustic guitar demonstration video, so if you are a shut up and play kind of guy, you're going to want to look elsewhere, because I'm not going to be shutting up and playing. I will, of course, demo the guitar later on in this video, but that's not the primary purpose of the video. This is supposed to be a in-depth look and review of the guitar, as well as my thoughts, and it's my video, so that's the whole point, is I'm giving my opinions and my thoughts on the guitar. I will link in the description where you can hear how the guitar sounds plugged in, because it is acoustic electric. I just don't feel like editing this video and inserting that clip into this video because, quite frankly, I'm lazy. So with all that out of the way, let's jump into the guitar review. And I also should say that this guitar, like many of the guitars that I own and still need to review and have already reviewed, is not currently in production from Martin. Instead, it's been replaced with a newer model, which is the OMC X1E. So if you like what I have to say about this guitar, the OMC X1E is supposed to be an upgraded version of this for the current market. So everything I say about this, or most everything I say about this, should be applicable to that as well, but that one should end up being, according to Martin, a slightly better guitar. So, I hope that helps. It's kind of a review, kind of serves duality in that sense. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into it. I have my notes over here as always, just so I don't forget any of the important details and get screamed at by someone in the comments section. The first thing I feel the need to mention is that this guitar is the opposite of traditional, in the sense that there is very little actual wood on the guitar. Okay, we're looking at an HPL body, so the top, sides, and back are all HPL. Now, I've seen a lot of people get HPL completely wrong. They say that it's made from wood shavings or wood chips or sawdust that is then compressed. No, guys, it's not what it is. HPL is a synthetic material that is made by layering kraft paper in a phenolic resin and compressing it. Not dissimilar to Micarta, by the way. So Micarta would be paper or canvas or something similar with epoxy resin that is compressed. This is kraft paper with phenolic resin. So this is not a wood or wood product body at all. Sorry to burst your bubble. If you see HPL that has a wood grain, that's simply because they put like a veneer or an image, basically, of wood over the top of it, but it's not a wood product at all. Okay, is that bad? Is that good? Depends on what you are going to be using the guitar for. It has excellent purposes and functions, but we don't have a wooden body. We don't have a wooden bridge or fingerboard. Instead, the bridge and fingerboard are made out of Richlite. What is Richlite? Well, funny enough, Richlite is a brand of paper micarta. So the body is paper in phenolic resin, and the bridge and fingerboard are paper in epoxy resin. A lot of paper going around here. The neck is Stratabond. Now, Stratabond is a wood product, and you can kind of see the glue lines there, the way they've compressed it all together. So Stratabond is a wood-based product. They basically take several pieces of wood and compress them together, likely with another resin, although I don't know what kind of resin in this case. And they form a very durable neck out of it. Now, a lot of people hate the Stratabond necks because they don't like how they look. And by the way, the modern version of this guitar, the OM-X1E, has a black finished Stratabond neck, so it matches a little better than this kind of birch or maple colored version on the older guitar. But a lot of people hate it. They say that it looks ugly. I don't personally mind it all that much, especially because you're not going to see the neck when you're playing the guitar, and nor is anyone else. And it doesn't feel like anything wild or crazy or different. It feels just like any other wooden guitar neck to me. But the advantage to Stratabond as a neck material is it is damn durable and very unlikely to warp. Okay, so this is not likely to warp from your string tension or from the weather changes or whatever. So this neck, once you set it straight, it's likely to stay straight. And I personally love that. I love these kind of necks that are not traditional like this, that are made in a way that they shouldn't warp. When I reviewed my Frameless Texan here, I showed off its neck, and it has a maple ply neck, very similar to Stratabond. Love it. It doesn't go anywhere. That neck does not move. I have a Applause coming in the mail, which by the time this video is posted, I'll probably already have a demonstration video of that guitar in, or up on the channel, but that has an aluminum neck on that guitar. Okay, that neck ain't going nowhere. The carbon fiber guitars have carbon fiber or graphite necks. Those necks aren't going anywhere. I love that. Okay, I absolutely love that, because whenever I'm going to a gig, you know, we're throwing the guitars in the back of the truck or the van, or depending on whoever's driving that day. And oftentimes, you know, it sits there for a while and there's weather changes. It may be raining, or it may be a really hot day and turn into a pretty cold night, and we're, you know, throwing the guitar in the back while we go out and grab a bite to eat after the show. So they're exposed to a lot of weather changes. And if you're a gigging musician who's doing any level of touring, then you're going across, you know, city to city, state to state, changes in temperature all the time. These types of necks are damn good for that. And that's why Martin also uses them on their Road series, which is literally the gigging musician's road guitar. Okay, so Stratabond neck I think is a great material. The scale length on the neck is 25.4 inches. Let's see, what are the nut and saddle made out of? I have it listed here. There's something a little odd. So we have a black Tusq saddle and a black Corian nut. Okay, so synthetic materials there as well. It's a 1 11/16 inch nut. Now, speaking on the Richlite fingerboard and bridge, a lot of people don't seem to have too many problems with the Richlite, but hate on other guitars that are using Micarta, not realizing that Richlite is just Micarta. It has a lot of the same benefits as everything else I mentioned. It's not going to really warp and like this fingerboard's not going to shrink on you and cause a weird disconnect between the neck and the fingerboard itself, which is fantastic. It's super easy to clean, which is nice. It's not porous, so it's not absorbing all your gunk and your grime from your fingers, all your sweat when you're playing, and pushing it back into your strings, deadening your strings. That's a huge plus for me. So I'm a huge fan of this material, especially as a fingerboard material. And as a bridge material, I could care less what the bridge is made out of, to be perfectly honest. It doesn't have too much impact on the guitar's tone. I'd say between 0 to 2% is how much your bridge is actually going to matter. We do have plastic bridge pins. You could replace those with something like wood or Tusq or bone and get, you know, better sustain out of the guitar by doing so. So it's a nice budget upgrade you could make to the guitar. The HPL body, one of the benefits for this is very much the same as the Stratabond. It is weather resistant as all get out. This thing is not going to bow and crack and splinter and break from too much humidity or lack of humidity. This thing is solid, and it doesn't care. It doesn't care at all what your weather conditions are like. In fact, the only part of this guitar that are going to be susceptible to weather, or the only parts, are going to be the wood bracing inside, because it still does have spruce bracing, so that's still susceptible to the weather. Your strings, if you play uncoated strings, which I don't, I play coated strings, and your tuning machines are, it's possible they could eventually rust if they're exposed to too much humidity. So if you're playing this thing in the shower every day, then yeah, your tuning machines could eventually have problems. My advice is don't play your guitar in the freaking shower. Speaking of the tuning machines, they are Martin branded, but as far as who makes them, it is pretty well documented that Ping makes the tuners for Martin. And these tuners hold tune absolutely fine. They don't need to be upgraded. Could you upgrade them? Sure. A nice set of Godot's or Schallers or Waverleys or something like that would be even more stable, but these Pings are absolutely fine, and they hold tune, honestly, really nicely. A lot of people like to bash Ping, and they don't realize that Ping is the company that makes Grover. So if you have Grover tuners, they're just Pings with a different name on them. So, not to say that all Ping tuners are great. Some Pings are worse than others, but these are among the better Pings. And that's to be expected. Martin's not going to want to put cheap parts on any of their guitars, even their more budget-friendly guitars. And that said, despite this being, you know, a more budget guitar, it's still not a super cheap guitar. The MSRP on these back in the day was about $700, and used they're about $500 these days. I got mine for $300 on Facebook Marketplace with a Martin case, because the guy was, you know, desperate to get rid of it and get some money for his church event, which, cool, you know, good for him, good for me. Everyone walked away happy. But they're not the super cheap guitars. They're still Martins at the end of the day. So part of that is going to be paying for that name. Now, do I think it's worth paying for a name brand? Typically no, but what it is worth paying for to me is this extremely weather-resistant material. The body shape on this, as you couldn't tell by the name of the guitar, is a triple O body shape with a cutaway, and it is a 14-fret triple O. So very similar to something like a grand concert, but just a bit narrower here at the waist. Let's see, anything else that I haven't mentioned yet? Oh yeah, there's no dot inlay on the front of the fingerboard. It is just completely black. But we do still have our dots on the side of the fingerboard, and that's honestly what matters the most, because that's what we're looking at whenever we're playing the guitar. As far as having no fingerboard inlay, I actually don't mind it. I think it has kind of a sleek look to it. It gives this thing a very cool, very slick aesthetic. You know, kind of the all black thing going on there, which I think looks nice. In fact, I kind of wish the tuning machines were black as well. Maybe I will change. Maybe I'll change them just for that reason. Maybe I'll get some black tuners to throw on here, just to keep it all black. Strap buttons are actually placed appropriately. So the strap button at the bottom is an end pin jack for the pickup system. We'll talk about it in a second. But they actually put the strap button in the correct place on the side of the neck. So this is going to hang properly and balance properly while you're playing. Good job, Martin. So many other companies put them here, or they don't put them on the guitar at all. Martin got it right with this one. Definitely a good job to them. Now the pickup system in these is going to be different depending on which year yours is from. Mine is from 2010. So it's sporting the Fishman Presys Plus pickup system. Okay, so you can see the preamp there. So that's the preamp, is the Presys Plus, and then the Undersaddle Piezo is going to be their Sonicore Piezo, which is what they use on almost everything. As far as how it sounds plugged in, it sounds really nice plugged in, as to be expected from a Fishman pickup system. We do have our bass, middle, and treble control on the preamp, as well as brilliance, which is higher than your treble, so we're looking at 4 bands of EQ. We have a notch filter to help fight against feedback. We have a phase reverse, and we have a built-in tuner. And the built-in tuner works really, really nicely. However, the caveat I'm going to give this is these Presys Plus pickup systems drain batteries like crazy. And I mean crazy, crazy. I put one in this guitar, and within 2 weeks of just hanging on the wall and then doing 1 gig, I was already getting a low battery life. So it's draining battery passively, even when not in use. So unfortunately, this is a guitar that if you're not at a gig with it or needing to play it plugged in for that moment, you'll want to take the battery out and store it in the case, because otherwise you're going to go through batteries like crazy. So a bit of a downside to this pickup system is it doesn't have the best optimization for your battery life, which is unfortunate. But this is not what they're using on the current version of this guitar anyways, which again is the OMC X1E. They're using a sound hole mounted pickup system or preamp system with likely the same Sonicore Undersaddle Piezo. So just a difference in the electronics there. And older versions are going to have different preamp systems as well, so it really depends on what year your guitar is from. Anything else I haven't mentioned yet? Oh yeah, where's the guitar made? Screwed that up. There we go. Yeah, it's made in Mexico, so this is a Mexican-made Martin. That is a cool thing about the Martins is a lot of people hate overseas produced guitars like China or Korea or Taiwan or Indonesia, but they don't mind Mexican or Canadian-made guitars. They're still North American-made guitars. And so a lot of people are going to be much more okay with something like this. And Martin, as a result, makes their guitars all in North America, the continent, even if it isn't within the USA, the country. So as far as where a guitar is made, I don't personally care. I care about how it sounds and how it plays and how it feels. But it is nice to know for those of you out there who are not fans of Chinese or overseas produced instruments, this is a North American made guitar. Okay? I forgot to mention how the neck feels, by the way. It feels fantastic. There's no sharp fret ends. It's a very comfortable feeling neck. It is satin finished, so it's very fast. So you can get up and down the neck really, really easily. For anyone wondering, by the way, the guitar is strung with D'Addario XS Phosphor Bronze Custom Lights, which are 11 through 52 coated strings. And they're what I'm using on pretty much everything I have now. They're great strings that rival, if not slightly surpass, Elixirs. And I was an Elixir fan for over a decade, and these things are just fantastic. So that's the strings that are on the guitar. Because someone, inevitably someone was going to ask what it's strung with. It doesn't look like there is anything left on the tech spec side of things, so let's go ahead and jump into how the guitar sounds, shall we? good sustain on that. And again, we could improve that further by putting in new bridge pans, but honestly, it's got a really nice sustain to it as it is. As far as how you like the tone produced by that HPL, yeah, that's purely up to you. Me, I think it sounds pretty nice. It sounds different from a wood guitar for sure, but I don't think it sounds better or worse. I think it just sounds different. Kind of like how carbon fiber guitars don't really sound better or worse than wood guitars, they just sound different. This has a voice all its own. Okay, much like the live record backs on Ovations or any other synthetic material used to make a guitar. Do some finger picking. Try to kind of show this across multiple different kinds of music. Let's see, it's an all black guitar and it's a Martin, so let's go ahead and do some Johnny Cash stuff with it. Could resist. It is an all black guitar, so why not do some of the Man in Black's music? Whatever the hell jazz chords those were. I'm not a jazz player by any means, but you know, again, trying to show off as many of the different sounds as I can. So there's some of your harmonics. right, so that's a bit of enough of a demonstration, I think, of the guitar. Who do I recommend this guitar for? Well, it's pretty obvious. This is recommended for the gigging musician. The more you're on the road, the better. Because these X-Series guitars, these HPL guitars, these Stratabond necks, they don't care. They don't care about the weather at all. Not one bit. So if you're doing a lot of gigs, spending a lot of time in the van, driving around from state to state, city to city, that's who this is for. Is it, perfectly fine for the bar band musician who just, leaves the guitars in a nice weather-controlled room, like this, and takes the thing to the show and brings it back? Yeah, it is. It still sounds good, in my opinion. And plugged in, it still sounds really nice. It still sounds like a guitar with Fishman electronics. So it's good for the couch playing musician and the bar band musician, the garage band musician. It's perfect for the the touring, gigging musician on the road. However, it's probably not the right choice for a recording artist. Okay? And that isn't because it doesn't sound good, but I think you can definitely get a better sounding guitar for recording purposes at this price range. Because if I'm being completely honest, in terms of tone, I can find guitars that I feel sound a lot better at this price range. But they don't provide the same features this guitar provides. So it's all about consideration. It's all about your personal needs. If you want a guitar that's not going to care about the weather, you're not going to get a guitar that sounds as beautiful as a Gibson Hummingbird or a Martin D45. It's just not going to happen. What you're going to get is a guitar that sounds good in its own way and has the features you're looking for. So for a recording musician, I don't think this is the best choice. I think you can do better. For the gigging musician, absolutely. As a beginner guitar, absolutely. It plays fantastically. It is a nice guitar. It's great for a beginner as well. So that's my personal opinions on the Martin 000 CXE in all jet black HPL. Pretty solid guitar. Hopefully my review has been helpful and informative to someone out there watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you next time.